All right, hi there. I'm going to quickly go over this as quickly as I can. The code we did yesterday in adding explosions. Kind of got the first half going. So the first thing we did was we moved all of our stuff over from the previous stage. So I'm not going to give a minute of my time to that. You should be able to go get your title screen, all your colors, your enemy ships, your player ship, get all that set up, then come back and continue to watch this video. I want to start off first by talking about all of the variables that I'm giving to you. Instead of making you type these variables, I'm giving them to you in the hopes that you, well, won't mess it up when we start adding code. But these are all the explosion variables right here. We can get them to fit right on one screen here if I'm really careful with... there we go. Let me slide that over here. So there's the first variable is called explode delay. It's going to be used in our explode timer. We're going to have a separate timer that's going to control the explosions. This Boolean variable called start exploding, which I would like you to please change to false. That should be false when we first initialize it. It is going to be used to determine whether or not, like when an explosion starts, when this variable is true, the explosion will be expanding. When this variable is false, the explosion will be contracting. What do I mean? Well, let's take a look at the exercise real quick. We'll run the demo. The explosion we're creating involves circles that will expand and then contract, and I've got to actually hit something if I want this to, really to demo for you, but there it is right there. You see 3 circles that expand and then they contract. So this variable here, start exploding, when it's true, circles will be expanding. When it's false, circles will be contracting. The next we have these 3 variables, circle 1, circle 2, and circle 3, and they are the 3 explosion game objects. They are those 3 different circles. There's this variable called circle radius, which really I could have just initialized it as just circle radius because as soon as I need it, I put a value in for it, so don't really need that, equals 1 right there. Later we'll throw that in. This is going to be the radius of the circle that starts. When it starts, as you can see, I was going to set it to 1 pixel radius, which means a diameter of 2. It's a very small circle. Every frame, we're going to increase that radius by the circle radius delta, which is 0.75. We'll add that every frame to the circle radius, making it bigger and bigger. When that circle radius reaches the circle radius limit of 20, when it's got a radius of 20, then we're going to change start exploding back to false. And then the circles will start to shrink because we're going to start subtracting the circle radius from the circle radius until we get down to the lower limit of the circle radius, which is 0.5 pixels. At that point, the circles have shrunk to such a small point, we're going to remove them from the screen so we can make the next explosion. There are 3 colors right here, which it would be nice if you would go get 3 colors here. Just for my easy purposes right now, I'm going to use there we go. I'll use those just for the moment. And then there's an explosion X and an explosion Y. These are the X and Y positions where we're going to place the explosion. And then there's this variable called explosion offset. We're going to use that in order to shift these 3 circles we're making to the left of the explosion XY and to the right of the explosion XY, and shifting 1 circle down from the explosion XY. We're actually not going to put any of the circles exactly at the point of explosion XY. We're going to be using the offset to push those circles left, right, and down. From there, we go all the way down to the check element function. And in the check element function, that is where we added our first 5 lines of code. And in check element gets called by the move projectile function. The move projectile function gets an element at the current location of the projectile and sends that element to the check element function. It comes in as the element, gets stored in a local variable called elm. We check if elm is null. If it's nothing, we just return. We do nothing. Most of the time, elm is going to be null. It's going to be nothing. But if the second else if right here detects when our player ship collides with the enemy ship or the terrain. But this last one, detects if our Element is tagged enemy ship, and if check projectile is true. If these are both true, then we know that our projectile has struck an enemy ship. So lots of things we did here. We took the element off the screen, reset some variables, added our points, changed our enemy ship offset, our enemies remaining, and then we see we got some comments here related to explosion. We're going to need some X and Y position and to set a couple of related parameters, and then we're going to need to start the explosion timer and set this thing off. So here we go. We're going to have that, did you turn on the Monaco editor? Explosion X is going to be equal to that elem dot get X. We're also going to need an explosion Y. That's going to be equal to elm dot get Y. Please notice that I typed get Y all lowercase, and then I hit the enter key to let the Monaco editor fix my making that Y a capital. Okay, let the Monaco editor code for you whenever possible. We also have to set a variable that's called our circle radius. And here's where we give it an actual value. We're going to start an explosion, and we want that circle radius to start off with a radius of 1 and grow from there. We also need to set start exploding true. That way, when we call the explode function here in a moment, the explode function knows, hey, it's time to start an explosion, which means we need to get that going, set in a timer to call the explode function every explode delay. Now, these are the 5 lines here in check element. It sets some basic parameters, the location where we want the explosion to spawn at, and the initial radius for the circles, and that Boolean variable, so the explode function will know, hey, the circles are expanding. And then we start the timer and call the explode function. From here, we're going to jump all the way to the end of the code and backtrack a little bit because the explode function is down here at the very end. The explode function consists of a big if right here, followed by an else. And in this if, it's only going to be true if start exploding is true. If start exploding is true, we want to do the stuff inside this if. But at a certain point, our circles are going to get so big while we're expanding our circles that I want to start shrinking them. At that point down here, we're going to set start exploding to false, but we won't even get to that in this video. First thing we got to do is we got to make sure that there are no circles already on the screen. The first frame of the explode function, there are no circles on the screen, but after the first frame, there are circles. There'll be 3 circles, and we need to remove them every frame. And it's not just circle 1, it's also circle 2 and circle 3. So make sure you remove all 3 circles. If they're there, they'll be there after the first frame. Then after that, we're going to put down we'll put down 3 circles. So circle 1 dot, circle 1 equals a new circle of, it's up there for me here, circle radius. Circle 1 equals a new circle of circle radius. We also have to set circle 1's position, and we're going to set that to our explosion X, subtract our explosion offset, comma, explosion Y. Oops, hitting a bunch of keys we don't need to hit. There we go, terminator. So that's going to set the explosion position. We also need to set circle 1's color, and we're going to set that to color 1. Lastly, I'm going to add circle 1 to the screen. So I want to make sure that this works. And at the moment, we can actually see that it does work. I'll press the G key, I'll shoot an enemy, and there's a dot. See that dot right there? That's circle one. Circle one got spawned, and circle one is getting spawned. I can see it. Whenever I shoot an enemy, I get a dot at that spot. See that little dot right there? I know the initial circle got laid down. I know this code is working. I'm going to copy all of those lines. Paste, paste, and space. Did I mention I like space? And everywhere here, I'm going to set that to circle 2, circle 2, circle 2, color 2, circle 2, color 3, circle 3, circle 3, circle 3, circle 3. Now I should get a little trio. I should get a little trio of circles on the screen. But I don't. You know why? I forgot something important. I'm still getting one circle. All of these have the same positions. For circle 2, I want to cut the minus explosion offset, and I'd like to add that to explosion Y. And like I said, I wanted to do that for circle 2. There, space. And then for explosion 3, cut that from there. No, I'm doing this really convoluted. Sorry. Paste it here. I want to add the explosion offset to explosion X. Check your code carefully. You should now get a trio of circles on the screen. There we go. There's a trio, 3 circles. They're spawning. Now let's make them grow. So we're going to do circle radius equals circle radius plus the circle radius delta. This is as far as I made it in class. And now when I hit one of these enemies, what's going to happen is, let me successfully hit one. Oh, Booth. At least I haven't died. Oh, man. Failure. There we go. I finally got one. Look at the 3 circles. See how they're growing? The 3 circles are growing, taking over the whole screen. That's as far as I got in class. If you've got 3 circles that are spawning on your screen and growing to where they fill the entire screen, your code's working like it should at this point, and you're ready to start with what we're going to be doing today. Thanks now, and we'll see you in class.